Neurons are replaceable, and they will replace. So they're going to have their structure. They're going to have some accessory cells, okay, mitral and tufted. These are going to help send the synapses to the area of the brain where they need to go. So if we look at their structure, it looks rather difficult, but let me kind of explain it. This right here, remember how I said the neurons are special. That is why we termed them the special senses. This is the neuron for smell. So we come over here, and if this is part of my nose, okay, giving me my nose hairs, all right, I got a bunch of bone to deal with, okay, if you remember anything about the facial bones, all right. So I have these cells, okay, making up parts that are going to be part for the olfactory area. My neurons with my little cell hairs, okay, I get movement of air across these. There is a layer of mucus, and we should all know that, okay. There's a layer of mucus that these little hair cells project into as molecules of something, an odor, in the air move into my breathing, okay? Each one is specific for one odorant. Think about the number that are going to be existing. So they are specific to an odor. If that odorant, they're trying to represent it here with the little molecules, okay? So if that odorant is picked up by this cell, you're going to recognize that smell. So we're going to pick it up on the cilia. We're going to send it through the cell. The cell's axons make their way through the bones. They make their way. Do you guys remember glomeruli from part 1? Did your professor talk about those at all? We'll keep coming back to this. Glomeruli are a roundish area that allows something to occur in. Okay? So in this case, we're meeting into a glomerulus. Note how we have a representation here of several cells meeting. They're synapsing. Remember how I said we've got some help cells, the tufted and the mitral, and from there make their way along the olfactory, that cranial nerve 1, to the area of the brain that's going to make sense of it.
So for a specific neuron, if it picks up a smell and it's triggered, do the other neurons that's not associated with it shut down, or they're dissociated?
No, because what they can do, like for example, you walk into a store and you make your way through and you get close to that perfume counter, and you're picking up on tons of odors. And that's the way that you're able to recognize them. You're recognizing them because so many of the cells are getting activated. And that information, that's how quick that information is getting processed. Think about that. That's how quick it's getting processed for you to pick up on it. So, this sense, okay, one of the things, because of where this particular sensation is located, i.e. frontal lobe, which is associated to my frontal cortex. All right, is everybody remembering that? Hint, hint for the test. Okay. And what is the frontal lobe responsible for?
Our thinking process.
We've got our thinking processes, our planning, okay? It's a lot of our conscious activity. This is the reason that because of the association that is made and the fact that smell is the only sense that we have that does not have to go to the thalamus. That is the only sensation we have that does not have to go to the thalamus. It synapses directly into the areas of the brain. It's an important part of memories because it's located with our cerebrum, which is higher order processes such as thinking, planning, and so forth, okay? That when you encounter certain smells, it brings a memory. Okay, like if you like the pumpkin pie smell, making you think about holidays. Okay, this is the reason why it synapses directly onto the areas of the brain, and it does not in any way have to go through the thalamus. So, sense of smell, that one plays a huge part in lots of areas of the brain. The next one, hearing and equilibrium. Like I said earlier, the sound, okay, it's moving through the air, and we now have to take information coming to it, vibrating on the air into the ear, and we have to make sense of it. Now, the other part about the structure of the ear, because you have your outer ear, you've got your middle ear, and you've got your inner ear. The inner ear and middle and inner and all of the structures that are present, we now know that because of cells that are present there, plays a part in equilibrium and balance. So, the structure that we get, because you know the outer ear right here, part we see, the eustachian tube going in, the outer ear, it's really going to be getting into the middle and the inner ear, things get fun, okay? So, if we're looking at hearing, sound, okay, we pick up a lot of stuff. We pick up the, and y'all probably know more about this stuff than me. I've tried to always not learn about stereo systems and everything like that. Amplitude, frequency, hertz, all that sort of stuff that I just really don't want to know a whole lot about. Okay, but that information is coming in to the ear, but the body has got to turn it into a form the body can recognize. And not only that, it needs to make sure that that information coming in does not damage ear components. If you lose your hearing, can you hear someone sneaking up on you? Once again, that would be affecting the species' ability to stay alive. Okay? So, my understanding of this, okay, frequency, number of cycles per second that the vibration's occurring, all right, and I think that's measured in hertz. Like I said, I try not to learn too much about that. We hear in a certain range, all right, small amount to a larger amount. Speech falls into a range within that. The loudness is the sound energy or intensity and how the body's going to take this and turn it into something we make sense of. We express loudness in decibels. It is measured by factors of 10. So if you're at 1 decibel but you go to 2, you've increased by a factor of 10, okay? Normal conversation is roughly around 60 decibels. When something gets to be about 120, you now recognize that sound as pain, all right? You can burst the eardrum, all that sort of stuff, create problems with the structures in the ear. So if you stay around a lot of loud noises for a long time, usually things begin to happen to structures in the ear. If you're around something at a certain time and it's a huge noise at one point, it can create damage to parts of the ear, okay? But when we look at the anatomy, like I said, the outer ear, just this part right here, not a whole lot going on, okay? Some people don't clean that wax out and stuff like that, and hair grows out of it because, once again, we got hair in there, okay? But, you know, just say, middle ear will get a little more interesting. Do you guys remember looking at the temporal bone in part 1? So once again, we got to deal with bone being present. So what will happen, the structure works off of membranes. So if I've got bone through here and I need to have this structure present, well, what did the body do? It made membranes so that we can work through this bone. So, one that we have, our eardrum, the tympanic membrane. All this sound comes bouncing in and makes its way to that eardrum. Now, we get the information to the middle ear, and then it continues forward, and we hopefully get something we can make sense of. Works by way of some cranial nerves. We have a structure that is going to work into the bones. But now, as the structure begins to make its way into the bones, we're either going to see air being present or fluid. Now, this is where our ability for equilibrium comes in. Any of you ever have to pop your ears? What are you doing? We're balancing the air. Because if we didn't, the pain, it generates a huge amount of pain. The reason babies cry on an airplane, because they don't know how to pop the ear yet, okay? And it's actually pain that they're feeling. So now we have to deal with air and fluid. We have also learned in these structures that have to deal with air and fluid that there are special cells that are present. We now know we have the cranial nerve, the vestibular cochlear nerve. Does everybody remember that one from studying? Here's the reason that it is termed the vestibulocochlear nerve. When that nerve comes in, it forks. Part of it goes to the area of the ear that we term the vestibule. What is a vestibule?
Area before you go in a building.
An area before you go into a building. So part of it goes to the vestibule.